Hello, everyone. You are listening to the Growth English Podcast, and I am your host, Emma. We are coming to you live from our stunning high-tech studio right here in Midtown Manhattan, New York City.
And I'm Liam. It is a beautiful, crisp morning here in the Big Apple. Emma, I was just looking out the window at the crowds on Fifth Avenue before we started. Millions of people, thousands of paths crossing every second. It's the perfect backdrop for today's topic.
It really is, Liam. You know, just getting here this morning, I had 3 mini conversations with the barista at the coffee shop, the person in the elevator, and even a tourist asking for directions to Rockefeller Center.
That is the New York experience in a nutshell. But for many of our listeners, especially those at the A1 or B1 level, those mini conversations can feel like a mountain they have to climb.
Exactly. That is why today's episode is titled Mastering Small Talk, Turning Casual Chats into Real Connections. We aren't just going to give you phrases to memorize. We want to help you change your mindset.
That's right. By tuning in today, you're doing 2 things at once. First, you're sharpening your English listening skills with real-world American-style dialogue. But second, and more importantly, you're learning how to build social confidence.
Because small talk isn't small at all, is it, Liam? It's actually the foundation of every friendship and professional relationship you will ever have in an English-speaking environment.
Precisely. Whether you're at a networking event in London, a housewarming party in Paris, or just a coffee shop right here in Brooklyn, knowing how to break the ice is your superpower.
I love that, a superpower. So, if you've ever felt frozen when someone asks, "How's it going?" or if you want to know how to move past the weather and actually make a friend, stay right where you are.
Grab your favorite drink, find a comfortable spot, and let's dive into the art of the conversation.
Let's get started. You know, Liam, before we get into the how-to, I want to address something that many of my friends feel. To be honest, small talk often feels a bit, well, superficial. We ask, "How are you?" and the other person says, "Fine," even if they're having a terrible day. Is it just a fake routine we have to follow?
That's a very fair question, Emma. Actually, I hear that a lot from English learners. But in American culture, and especially in a fast-paced city like New York, small talk isn't meant to be a deep psychological evaluation. Think of it as a social handshake. It's a way to signal, I am friendly, I am safe, and I am open to a connection.
So it's more about the feeling than the actual words.
Exactly. Well, to be honest, if you skip the small talk and ask a stranger, what is your biggest fear in life, they will probably walk away. Actually, you need that warm-up period. It's a social lubricant. It reduces the friction between 2 strangers.
I see. But as a B1 learner, I often feel like I run out of things to say after 2 minutes. How is the weather? It's cold. Then silence. It's so awkward.
The weather trap. We've all been there. The secret, Emma, is to stop looking for a topic and start looking for a hook. A hook is a small piece of information that you can grab to pull the conversation forward. Let's look at how that works in a real situation.
Okay, let's try a scenario. Imagine I'm at a very trendy, very crowded coffee shop in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. I'm waiting for my oat milk latte, and there's someone standing next to me also waiting. How do I start?
Well, the environment is your best friend. Instead of a boring statement like, "It's busy today," which doesn't invite a response, try a statement-question combo. You could say, "Wow, the line is moving slowly today, but this place always smells amazing. Have you tried their seasonal roast yet?"
Oh, I like that. You shared a feeling, the place smells amazing, and then asked for an opinion.
Precisely. Actually, by asking for an opinion, you're making them the expert. If they say, "No, it's my first time here," you have a new hook. You can ask, "Oh, really? Are you visiting the neighborhood, or did you just discover this spot?"
And what if they are a regular? What if they say, oh, I come here every morning?
Even better, now you have a hook about their routine. You could say, a regular, then you must know the secret menu. What's the one thing I absolutely have to try next time? To be honest, people in New York love sharing their insider knowledge. It makes them feel like a local guide.
That works great for a coffee shop, but what about professional networking? We're in Manhattan, after all. Everyone is wearing a suit and looking very serious. Usually, the first question is, what do you do?
Right, and usually the answer is a one-word job title. I'm a lawyer. I'm an engineer. And then, boom, the conversation dies.
Exactly. How do we keep the heart beating in that conversation?
Well, to be honest, what is a boring question. You want to get to the why or the how. Actually, people are much more passionate about their journey than their title. If someone says they are a teacher, instead of saying, oh, that's nice, try asking, what inspired you to get into education? Or what's the most rewarding part of your week?
Wow, those are powerful questions. They feel much more personal, but still professional.
Exactly. You're inviting them to tell a story, not just give a report. And while they talk, you practice active listening. Use those verbal nods I mentioned. That's fascinating, or I can imagine, or right. It shows you're present in the moment with them.
You mentioned the statement question technique earlier. Can we dive deeper into that? I think this is where many learners struggle. We feel like we're interviewing people. Question, answer, question, answer. It feels like a police interrogation.
It shouldn't feel like a trial. To be honest, the reason it feels like an interrogation is because the learner isn't sharing anything back. A conversation is a game of catch. If I throw the ball to you, you have to catch it and throw it back.
So I need to give some information before I ask.
Yes. Let's say you're at a gallery opening in Chelsea. Instead of asking, do you like the art? Try this. I'm really drawn to the colors in this piece. They remind me of the sunsets back in my hometown. What do you think of the artist's style?
I see. I shared a personal detail, what I feel, and a mention of my hometown, and then I tossed the ball back to them.
Precisely. Now they can talk about the art, or they might ask where your hometown is. You've given them multiple hooks. Actually, this is the most natural way to keep a conversation flowing without it feeling forced. It builds trust because you are being vulnerable first by sharing your opinion.
Liam, we have to talk about the big, scary monster of small talk, the silence. Sometimes, despite all the hooks and techniques, the conversation just stops. I can feel my face getting red. What do I do?
Well, first of all, Emma, take a deep breath. To be honest, even native speakers have silences. In New York, we're so used to noise that silence feels heavy, but it's okay. You have two choices, the re-entry or the graceful exit.
Tell me about the re-entry first.
A re-entry is when you go back to something mentioned earlier. You could say, I was just thinking about what you said earlier about that project. How did your team react to that change? It shows you were really listening.
And if the conversation is truly finished, if we've run out of things to say?
Then you use the graceful exit. Don't just run away. Say something like, well, it was so great chatting with you. I'm going to go grab another drink or check out the other room, but I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening.
Oh, that's so much better than just saying bye and walking away awkwardly. It leaves the door open for future connections.
Exactly. Small talk is about opening doors. Some doors stay open, some close, and that's perfectly fine. The goal is the practice, not perfection.
I feel so much better. It's about being curious, not just being correct with my grammar.
Well said, Emma. Actually, that curiosity is exactly what makes you a great communicator.
Welcome back, everyone. That conversation in part 1 was so eye-opening. I realized that small talk is more like a dance than a checklist. Now it's time for my favorite part, the golden vocabulary.
Mine too, Emma. Actually, to truly master small talk, you need to understand not just the definition of the words, but the flavor they add to a conversation.
We've selected 5 key phrases from our dialogue that will make you sound much more natural.
Let's start with one you used quite effectively, Liam. Frankly. In many textbooks, it's taught as a synonym for honestly, but it feels more powerful, doesn't it?
You're right. Well, frankly, we use this when we want to be direct or share a very clear opinion. In American English, it acts as a signal that what follows is a sincere, straightforward thought. It's slightly more professional than to be honest, but still very common in casual talk.
Can you give us an example of how a learner might use it?
Sure, if someone asks your opinion on a new cafe, you might say, frankly, I think the coffee is great, but it's a bit too noisy for working. It shows you are giving an authentic review. Actually, it's a great way to show confidence in your English because you are taking a clear stance.
And next is a noun, a regular. We used this in the coffee shop scene.
Right. A regular is someone who visits a specific place, like a cafe, a bar, or even a bookstore, so often that the staff knows them. Being a regular is a point of pride in New York.
So if I go to the same bagel shop every Tuesday, I can call myself a regular.
Exactly. And in small talk, asking someone if you're a regular here is a brilliant hook. It's not just asking if they like the coffee, it's asking about their lifestyle. If they say yes, they feel like an expert, and people love being the person who can give recommendations.
Phrase number 3, read the room. This sounds a bit like a detective skill.
It is. To read the room means to use your senses to understand the emotions and the vibe of a situation before you speak. Frankly, this is the most important skill in communication.
So if I walk into a meeting and everyone is looking at the floor and no one is talking,
Then you've read the room and realized it's not the time to tell a loud joke. Actually, for English learners, reading the room helps you decide which icebreaker to use. If the room feels energetic and loud, you can be more direct. If it's quiet and professional, you start more gently.
we mentioned this a lot in part 1, a hook.
Yes, in fishing, a hook is what you use to catch a fish. In conversation, a hook is a specific detail that allows you to catch the next topic. Actually, the biggest mistake people make in small talk is letting the hook swim away.
For example, if someone says, I just got back from a trip to Chicago, the hook is Chicago.
Exactly. Don't let it go by saying, oh, cool. Grab the hook. Ask, how was the weather there? Or what was the highlight of the trip? Every time someone speaks, they are giving you hooks. Your job is to listen and catch one.
And finally, the classic idiom, break the ice.
We use this to describe the very first interaction that makes people feel relaxed. In New York, the ice is that cold feeling when strangers are standing next to each other and no one is talking.
Smiling, like in an elevator?
Precisely. Breaking the ice is an act of bravery. It's the first comment about the weather, the music, or a compliment. Frankly, once the ice is broken, the rest of the conversation is usually much easier. The hard part is just that first crack.
Liam, how do these words change when we're in a fast-paced city like Manhattan compared to somewhere else?
Well, in New York, we often use these phrases to be efficient. We don't have time for long introductions. Actually, we use frankly or to tell you the truth to get straight to the point. And reading the room is essential here because people are often in a rush. If you read the room and see someone is looking at their watch, you know to keep the small talk very short.
That's such a good point. It's not just about the vocabulary, it's about the timing.
Exactly. Well, Hema, I think if our listeners can start using even just 2 of these phrases this week, their English will sound 50% more natural.
I agree. Frankly, I'm going to try using read the room next time I walk into my English club.
That's the spirit. As we come to the end of today's episode, I want us to take a moment to look beyond the grammar and the phrases. Why do we really care about small talk? Is it just a social rule? Frankly, In a city as massive as New York, it is very easy to feel invisible. You can walk past 10,000 people on your way to work and not make eye contact once. Small talk is the bridge that breaks that isolation. It is the simple, brave act of saying, I see you. You are a person, and I am a person, and we are sharing this moment. When you ask a stranger about their coffee or their day, you are practicing kindness. You are opening a window into someone else's world. To tell you the truth, some of the most important opportunities in my life didn't start with a formal interview. They started with a simple hook in a crowded room. Don't let the fear of making a mistake stop you. Your English level is just a tool, and even if that tool is small right now, your heart and your curiosity can be huge. Every time you break the ice, you are growing. You are becoming a more confident, more connected version of yourself.
That is so profound, Liam. It makes me realize that my broken English isn't the wall. It can actually be an invitation for others to help me. To summarize for our listeners today, remember that small talk is your social handshake. Be present. Read the room to know when to speak. Be curious. Look for the hooks in what people say. Be authentic. Use words like frankly to share your real thoughts. Be brave. Don't fear the silence. It's just part of the dance. Whether you are in Manhattan or anywhere else in the world, your voice has value. Use it to connect, not just to speak.
Exactly, Emma. Growth happens at the edge of your comfort zone.
Before we finish, we have a question for all of you listening. What was the most interesting conversation you ever started with a total stranger? Did it lead to a friendship, a job, or just a good laugh?
We would love to hear your stories. Each story you tell is a way to practice your English and share your growth with this community.
Thank you for joining us today in our New York studio. Keep practicing, keep connecting, and keep growing. We will see you in the next episode of the Growth English Podcast.
Until next time.